to the 10th running of the Eddie Big Wave Invitational in memory of Eddie Aikau here at Waimea Bay. And this is one of the most prestigious surf competitions ever in time, but it's more than just a surf competition, and we're going to get into that. I'm Kai Pagura along with Dr. Isaiah Walker. Thank you for joining me, Isaiah.
Aloha, good morning. Yeah, it's a beautiful day out there, and the waves are pumping. So a lot of exciting action. I think we've already started into our Heat 1, and so it's going to be a great day.
Prestigious event. Started in 1984. It's only run 9 times previous to this. This is the 10th running. And I was saying more than just a surf competition. This is a gathering of the world's best big wave surfers, all in celebration of the life and legacy of a great Hawaiian waterman, Eddie Aikau, Isaiah.
Yeah, Eddie Aikau is revered as an icon, not only in the surfing community, but also in the voyaging community, and especially in the Hawaiian community. He's seen as somebody who's dedicated his life to big waves, to saving lives as a lifeguard at Waimea Bay, where he was a lifeguard, and perpetuating his culture as a native Hawaiian, particularly as a member of the crew of the Hawaiian voyaging canoe Hokulea. And so he's definitely an important figure in Hawaii. In some ways, he has like this mana to his story that most people in Hawaii and hopefully throughout the surfing world really have grasped onto and really appreciate.
Yeah, well, look at, we have heat number 1 out in the water. We have 8 surfers in each of these heats. The surfers are allowed to catch 4 waves in each of their heats. There's going to be 2 rounds today in a leaderboard format. And let's talk about some of the surfers that we have out in the water. And we're going to start off with one in every heat. This year, we're going to have at least 1 female surfer. The female surfer out in this heat, Andrea Moeller. She's going to be in the pink jersey, 42 years old, born in Sao Paulo, now resides in Maui, and a premier water woman when it comes to surfing, but also a world-class paddler, Isaiah.
Yeah, she's done a lot of events paddling. She's done amazing, she's caught amazing waves at Peahi on Maui and Jaws, and is really dedicated to big wave surfing. So it's really cool that she represents both Brazil and Maui. And it's also exciting to see these mana wahine, or women surfing in this event where we haven't had that before.
Set coming through here, no takers, as we're just getting an eye on this incoming double extra large swell that we're expecting today. The waves should be rising throughout most of today with a big conclusion this afternoon when we crown a champ. So this is really the guinea pig heat out in the water. We'll look at another contestant out there in the blue jersey, Aaron Gold. Aaron, a North Shore resident, 41 years old. This is the second Eddie that Aaron's surfing in, Isaiah.
Yeah, I think a lot of surfers remember Aaron Gold, especially when he caught the massive wave at Jaws that really put him on the map, and has been an incredible waterman, and looking forward to watching him surf today.
Yeah, Aaron Gold. And note, when he did catch that wave, no inflation vest at the time, doing it old school style, which is going to be rare because as our safety protocol and equipment has evolved, you'll see a number of our surfers both with static built-in padding and inflation flotation, as well as inflation, those inflation vests cruising through the lineup here. We'll look to out there in the purple jersey is Greg Long. Greg Long, the 2009 Eddie champ out of San Clemente, California, 39 years old. Greg's going to be one of the veterans out in the lineup.
Yeah, Greg has been, Greg and his brother have been chasing big waves for many years now. And so it's only makes sense that he's out there in this event.
Defending champ out there in yellow, John Florence, the 2016 Eddie champion, as well as a 2-time world champ. John Florence, you gotta think he's gonna be one of the favorites in this year's event.
Yeah, John's known as the guy that makes big and scary waves look really comfortable the way that he rides them. He's definitely comfortable out here, and I mean, he's one of the favorites for sure.
Waves crashing through there, and surfers still anticipating larger sets, sitting a little bit further out of the break line as we fly by here, high up above. Beautiful morning here at Waimea. Looking to round off our heat out there in the white jersey, the Goofy Foot. Koa Rothman is going to be out there, 29 years old. This is Koa's second Eddie, and he comes from a prestigious surfing family. Koa's brother, Makua Kai, is going to be in the competition later today. Koa's father, Eddie, was also a surfer in this Eddie Aikau Big Wave Invitational in the past.
Yeah, Koa Rothman, definitely known as a charger who's had amazing rides at places like Waimea Bay and Cloudbreak in Fiji and all around the world. He's also an expert at pipeline, where just recently he won the best wave of the competition at the Hui Backdoor Shootout. So Cole Rothman is definitely a charger. What's cool too is him and John grew up together, so really close friends out there in the water today.
Another Goofy Foot on the water, Mark Healy in the orange jersey. Mark Healy, 41 years old. This is Healy's fourth Eddie. Mark made a bit of surf history years back at the Eddie, taking a couple lefts out here at Waimea, which is pretty unorthodox.
Yeah, I mean, Mark Healy is known as the guy that is fearless and has trained for years on, even as a free diver, and he knows how to hold his breath.
Here we go. John Florence is going to start off the day. Just a little test away for Florence, and gets caught up in the whitewater, dives off. So that's going to be our first score of the morning, where we look at scores in the format of this year's Eddie Big Wave Invitational in memory of Eddie Aikau. We are using a 1 to 10 point scale for each of the rides with half a point options. So keeping it nice and clean there. You either got a point, a 0.5, 2 points, all the way up till 10, and that's how we're going to do our scoring, Isaiah.
Yeah, and John, we'll see how that went. I think you're right, Kaipo. That was just kind of getting in his feet in the wax, I suppose. But with John, kind of cool that he's the first one to start us off in the morning. So he'll be getting out there looking for some bigger rides.
We were rounding off our heat, and we have yet two competitors to ID out there as we take a look here, dropping in the blue jersey.
Aaron Gold.
It looks like Shane. It could very much like Shane Dorian out there, who's in the actual black jersey. Shane Dorian is the veteran of this crew, 50 years old. He's been a runner-up here before. Waves in the back. And two Goofy Foots up there. So white, that would be Koa Rothman, as well as orange, that's Mark Healy. We're just talking about Mark, so we got some scores on the board.
Yeah, one thing unique too about this event, you wouldn't normally see people sharing the same wave, but at Waimea Bay and at the Eddie Aikau, it is allowed.
Yes, as long as, so there is an interference, but you'd have to blatantly get in someone's way. So we'll get to that as we go over our rules, but there is options of interference if you do hinder someone's line out there, but that one looked clean between Mark Healy as well as Koa Rothman. We saw Shane Dorian, and he's 50 years old, out of Hawaii Island. This is Shane's sixth Eddie, and Shane was a runner-up in 2001 to Ross Clark Jones, a 2001 champ out here. 2 times third place finish. That was 2004, as well as 2016 for Shane Dorian. Could this be Shane's year? We'll start off with a replay, Isaiah. This is John.
I can see a very tall wave. It's got a little bit of that morning warble to it, which may have contributed to that fall at the end, but beautiful drop nonetheless. That's another angle, beautiful drone angle shot. And this was the one of Shane Dorian, a late takeoff, goes behind the boil there. You can see, manages to get through that section of whitewash exploding behind him. And he rides out of it, which is great to have a successful ride through that exploding section of whitewater, getting through some of the bump and chop from this morning that sometimes on the North Shore we call morning sickness. Behind them, we have the two Goofy Footers, Mark Healy and Koa Rothman. Just a quick drop and out for Koa, and Mark riding this wave a little further. Looks like John paddling for this one. This is a different wave, drops in. You can see behind that boil as well. Takes a bottom turn, rides through this, see if he can get through that whitewash, and he does.
So John Florence already with 2 waves ridden. Again, a reminder, after your 4th wave, you got to paddle in. That's all you're going to get. But John is quick to strike out here, and we're going to see how the scores come through.
Yeah, so beautiful morning here in Hawaii and at Waimea Valley and Waimea Bay. And fortunate here to be able to watch these great surfers in this heat.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Waimea, Isaiah. But first, let's talk about John and his 2nd wave.
Beautiful wave, drops in behind that section. Explosion behind him, which contributes to the excitement of this wave. Manages to get around that whitewash. See how deep he is on this wave. Really makes for higher scoring points if you're behind that wave as you're dropping in and are able to ride through that section that is in front of you. Yeah, so Waimea Bay is part of the Ahupua'a of Waimea Valley. And Ahupua'a is basically a village or community that's centered around a river. And it's known as one of the lushest and most fruitful communities, especially even in old Hawaii. It's also seen as a center for Hawaiian culture even today. But particularly it was seen as a spiritual center in times of old, where high priests, like High Priest Hewa, who was Kamehameha's high priest, or Kahuna Nui, and he resided over this area of Waimea Valley.
Rider here dropping in. It looks like it's going to be blue, and that's Aaron Gold.
Right, there's a little frothy one, which in surfing refers to when there's a lot of foam on the face of the wave, which is the result of the previous waves that broke in front of it. Those can often be challenging to navigate.
And bear with us as we go and try to ID some of these surfers. We're looking for information from the beach to make sure that we have, because we have 40 invitees, but we do have an incredible alternate list of surfers, so there may be some substitutions in these heats, and trying to find out exactly who's out in the water is going to be key. We're going to be IDing them out of just surfing style. Here's the style right here in blue.
Yeah, again, you can see the surfer was able to get around that. It was tricky to get around through the foamy section. You can see it here as well. Yeah, and I do believe that's Aaron Gold.
So we got some scoring done. We'll update you on the standings. This is the first heat of the morning, 45-minute heats in this round number 1. 5 heats in this first round of, I would say, spiritual competition in a way, Isaiah, because this is unlike any other contest in the world.
Yeah, and that really attributes to the attributes of Waimea Valley and Waimea Bay. There's a lot of, in Hawaii we call mana. And mana, it's kind of like this energy, this spiritual energy that accompanies the riders and the islands and the ocean. And Waimea Valley is definitely a part of that tradition of carrying a lot of mana. I think this is Andrea Moeller.
So Andrea Moeller on her first wave, and is going to go complete on that. And so completes the ride, and there you go. Well, history made. The first wave ridden by a woman in competition here at the Eddy.
I think it's only fitting because traditionally in Hawaiian society, women were very active in he'enalu. He'enalu is a Hawaiian word for surfing. And so I think it's beautiful to have so many wahine, or women, in our event this year at the Eddy.
One more replay of Andrea.
Yeah, you see her dropping down there and was able to make this wave. A tall wave, not the biggest wave of the heat, but nonetheless successfully ridden. And she'll be out there, still has 3 more waves to catch.
Yeah. As we mentioned before, Andrea Moeller, she's a great surfer as well as a world-class paddler, has set a lot of records, a lot of wins, both stand-up paddling, prone paddling, canoe paddling, both in a one-person canoe as well as a crew. And has also ridden some big, big waves at Jaws and in the tow arena as well.
Right. And you'll hear a lot of, when we talk about Eddie Aikau, that he was a waterman, waterwoman. These terms really show that an individual who has a diverse ability in the ocean, whether it's paddling canoes, surfing big waves, diving, fishing, a variety of different things. So it's really cool that Andrea comes from a real diverse background of riding different watercrafts and being an athlete. And so I know she's set some records for crossing channels between islands as a paddler. And so it's definitely someone who's familiar with the power of the mana of the ocean. I was talking about Waimea Valley previously and how it was known as kind of a spiritual center in times of old. And one of the high priests of Kamehameha, Heva Heva, to make a connection with Eddie Aikau, Heva Heva is also the ancestor to the Aikaus, to Eddie Aikau and his family. And so there's a really cool connection and spiritual vibe that brings us right to the Aikau family.
Emily Erickson, she's on her way out. She'll be in pink in the next heat. And Emmy Erickson, Dad Roger was a great big wave rider. And Emmy Erickson out there taking out a single fin. A Kyle Larson 10-6. That's her old faithful. You could see it being repaired over and over again. We talk about mana. There's a connection between Emmy and that board, and it's evident that that's her, you know, her go-to for big waves.
Board. Yeah, a lot of times people say, you have your favorite board or your magic board, you put it on ice or have it sit on the side, but looks like she's put a lot of time into that board and evidence in some of the repairs that are fixed on it. But looking forward to watching her out here.
Yeah, and looks like she's got some a brace on the knee. So, and that's going to be a story going throughout today, in that we have a number of invitation surfers that have been invited, competitors that will be surfing with injuries, because it's so prestigious to be just invited to this gathering, this competition, this celebration of Eddie Aikau, that a lot of these men and women do not want to give up that opportunity. And we're going to see a lot of surfers out there taped up, braced up, ready to go, you know, regardless, because the Bay is calling the day today and they're showing up.
Yeah, and these athletes are chargers. In other words, they surf a lot of dangerous waves, and because of that, it's oftentimes that they will suffer some injuries, but hopefully everyone is healthy, and we pray for everyone's well-being today in the water, because these waves are beautiful and fun to watch, but at the same time incredibly dangerous.
There's Greg Long in the purple jersey. As we said before, he's a former champ. 2009, Greg Long took a big win here at the Eddie and really put him on the spotlight of global big wave surfing, taking out Kelly Slater that year, who was in the lead throughout most of the event. And Greg Long coming through in that final heat of the day and snatching that victory. It would have been the second for Kelly Slater, of course. Slater, a champ here back in 2002.
Yeah, and he really solidified it, like you said, at the end of the day. And I remember that massive one. That was his best wave of the day, where it looked like the section was just closing out in front of him. Took a really late drop and was rewarded for his courageous charging of that massive wave.
Out there in the black jersey, we talked a little bit more about Shane Dorian and his history here. 6th Eddie Aikau. So Shane's actually one of the veterans in this year's competition. Shane's been through and surfed with different generation of Waimea surfers. He's going to see the young guns right now, but Shane was surfing with Clyde Aikau. Clyde Aikau winning this event. Younger brother of Eddie Aikau won this event in 1986.
Correct.
Shane was surfing with Keone Downing, who is a legend in surfing, as well as Keone's dad, George, who used to be the event director for the Eddie. Keone winning in 1990.
Right.
Shane was surfing in 1999 when a young North Shore surfer made a big name for himself, Noah Johnson.
Yeah, it was cool because I mean, Noah Johnson originally also from Big Island, from Hilo, and so it's really cool that 1999 Noah was able to get out there. And I remember Shane Dore. I mean, Shane Dore and I also grew up on the Big Island, and he would fly over here when he was young and surf Waimea Bay from a young age, from his high school years. And so Shane Dore is definitely not a stranger to big waves.
There's Makuakai Rothman with the brace on his knee. We talked about these warriors surfing through injuries because it's so prestigious to be a part of this event. Makua has a badly injured knee. I think it's an ACL or MCL. I mean, he's going to have to go and get some work done on it. I talked to Makua. He said, hey, I'm not going to miss this for anything. He may have a leash attached to a vest rather than his leg, so he's not get pulled on that bad knee. Or Makua also told me, hey, I may not even wear a leash because if I fall, I'm not going to win. And I love that kind of spirit.
Wow. Yeah, Makuakai was injured at the backdoor shootout recently. It had to be carried off the beach, and so I'm also surprised that he's going for it because his knee injury was pretty bad. But we see that, like you're saying, Kaipo, that kind of warrior spirit. I remember at the 2016 event, Uncle Kalaidai dislocated his shoulder during the competition. They reset it on the beach. He paddled back out and continued surfing throughout the event. So warriors indeed are in this event.
And it's shaping up to be a beautiful day, Isaiah, in that we have some light winds. We have a little bit of haze right now, variable conditions. We're expecting the winds to kind of start blowing a little bit out of the southeast, hopefully funneling down Waimea Valley and giving us pristine wind conditions. The swell. This is just the beginning of the swell right now. We're going to see the waves increase in size throughout the day.
Yeah, that's what adds to the excitement level, is that we have a building swell. And so, throughout the day, we'll see larger and larger sets. And so stay tuned. I mean, it's going to be an exciting day for sure.
Well, we got it started right now. We're going to step away just for a little bit from Waimea Bay, but we'll be back after this commercial break with more. This is the opening heat of the Eddie Big Wave Invitational in memory of Eddie Aikau. We'll be right back.
Some see black as...
Welcome back to the Eddie Big Wave Invitational in memory of Eddie Aikau. A beautiful scenic shot from high up above of Waimea Bay and Waimea Valley. I'm Kaipo along with Dr. Isaiah Walker. What a beautiful shot here, and of the valley just beckoning us to this culturally significant area in the Hawaiian Islands. That's not just for surfing, Isaiah.
Right.
But just in history.
No, and that's what's beautiful. We're talking today about the mana and the beauty and the pristineness of this place. And there's a lot of mana to Waimea Valley and Waimea Bay. There's actually 3 heiau, which are these vahipana, like sacred sites that were places of religious worship in old Hawaii. And Waimea Valley is home to 3 of those. In fact, the largest heiau on the island of Oahu is Pu'uomahuka, which is the heiau up on there, on the north end of Waimea Valley, up on the cliffs there above Pupukea. And so there's a lot of energy, a lot of mana, and this place has, in the surf, it also reflects that kind of power that exists in this space.
Yeah, and we want to acknowledge and thank organizations such as Ma Lama Pupukea, who is helping Pupukea as a marine life conservation district. It is a Pu'uhonua for marine life, and that organization has helped out in both making sure that that reservation stays that way, as well as native Hawaiian plant coastal restoration, which has been one of their projects. We want to mahalo them for all the good work that they do.
Yeah, and Waimea is seen as a place that preserves this traditional knowledge and also perpetuates the environment in healthy ways.
Josh Moniz heading out, the young 26-year-old Joshua Moniz. He's going to be in heat number 2. He's a second-generation Eddie invitee. Really interesting that Josh's dad, Tony Moniz, 6th place finish here in 2001. That was the year that Ross Clark Jones won, but Tony was in that top 6 and final situation that year. Now his young son carrying on the tradition, and he's going to have his first surf in the Eddy in heat number 2.
Yeah, the Moniz family, very talented family, not only with Josh, but they have several other children, Kelia and Seth and Isaiah and Micah and so many others. And so they are known as an incredibly talented surfing family, and I think it is fitting to have Josh in this event and to follow in his dad's footsteps.
Way behind, dropping into that one, disappearing in the trough there, and we're going to get an ID that looked like it was black. It may have been Shane Dorian, and we know that Shane will go. So we'll see. It was a black or perhaps that blue of Aaron Gold. Here we got to get an ID, and it looks like it was. I'm going to say Aaron Gold on that deep one on the paddle back out.
Yeah, it looked like.
Or you know what? Actually, I take that back. Could be Greg Long on his opening wave.
Yeah, it looked like we had 2 riders on that wave, one deeper into the wave, which means it's closer to the peak of the wave or behind the peak of the wave, and then another rider that was sitting a little further on the end, or what we sometimes call the shoulder of the wave. So we'll be able to ID that soon.
Lines coming through here on the building swell. And we were talking a little bit about the history of Waimea. What about talking about the great service that Eddie Aikau brought to the community out here on the North Shore? Not just an incredible surfer, but also the North Shore's first lifeguard, saving hundreds of lives in his career.
Yeah, he said under his watch, he didn't lose one person as a lifeguard at Waimea Bay. And in fact, he was also the first lifeguard to be stationed at Waimea Bay because it was such a dangerous place that, you know, they were worried that lifeguards would be liable and it would be too much to handle. So Eddie Aikau becomes the first lifeguard at Waimea Bay in the 1967-68 winter season, and is known for being a quiet gentleman, actually, but very prominently active in saving lives and rescuing people at the bay here at Waimea.
So on the paddle back out there, as we get this drone shot, we can see the blue jersey. That would have been Aaron Gold on that waves. Again, 45 minutes in this round 1 for each of the heats. We're going to add 5 minutes for round number 2 this afternoon as we anticipate the swell to continue to build here at Waimea. And thank you for joining us here on Surfline, as well as on K-High for this live broadcast of the 10th running of the Eddy. Second wave in the set, and a big wall of water, Isaiah, and the surfers are going to have to make a decision right now. Long wall stretching out in front. You can see the boil there evident. We'll see if we have any takers on this first wave of the set.
Oh my goodness, that is a bomb. That's a good sign. The swell is rapidly rising, and that was a significant wave. You could see it barrel on that section, and maybe the surfers weren't in position or there was too much water moving up the face, but that wave was incredible.
Launching into this one and grabbing the rail through the inside there. That is Mark Healy in the orange jersey, and Healy gets exploded, but I love the go for it attitude of Mark Healy. Wow. Healy, no problem. Takes the beating right back onto his board. Mark Healy, one of the, an incredible free diver, and has outstanding breath-holding technique. So this is a guy that can stay underwater for 4 minutes.
Right, he has these training videos actually of trying to show people how to do it, and the way that he contorts his body and keeps that air in his chest. Here we have a replay.
Oh, straightening out there. That was
That was
purple.
Greg
So that
Long.
was Greg Long. Getting to some of these replays. Aaron Gold, that's why he was paddling back out. He had to ditch the board there. And a little leash test for Aaron Gold. And here we go with Mark Healy.
Yeah, this is that last one of Mark Healy. That one barrels behind him. He grabs the rail, does bottom turn. So that would be one of his better waves for this heat so far. And again, our surfers are allowed to catch 4 waves, which is unique to other competitions. And they have to be selective in which waves they choose to go on.
That's right. So 2 rounds, 4 waves allowed to be caught in each round. Top 3 waves are going to be what are tallied together for your place on the leaderboard. And the crowd is one thing that we always expect here at the Bay when the eddy runs.
Yeah, apparently people come down, camp here before hours, if not days before, to make sure that they're here to watch this action. And it's exciting that that the event was held. This doesn't happen quite often. In fact, usually it's about every decade you'll have the event 3 times, about on average about 3 times. We did find that interestingly, with between the years of 1999 and 2009, that 10-year period, it was held 5 times, which is pretty unusual in comparison. So we haven't had the event since 2016, and so we're excited to be here today, 7 years later.
That's right. Here we go. Another set coming through, and no takers on this one. Maybe a little paddle on the shoulder.
Looks like Andrea Moeller.
And Muller getting another wave and collecting some points for that one. Yeah, that was a hot streak from 1999, 2001, and 2002. Back-to-back-to-back years running the eddy, but that was very unusual because the Bay calls the day, right, Isaiah?
Right.
It needs to be 20-foot plus and peaking during the daylight hours. So that's one of the caveats that really comes into play.
Right.
This is in the corner, and this is where our surfers will launch into the shore break and to begin their paddle out, trying to utilize the currents, right, Isaiah?
Yeah, correct.
Now the current will pull from the right side of your screen to the left side of your screen once they get out in the water. They need to time this paddle out because with that current pulling, you have a chance of getting pulled all the way to the other side of the bay into the rocks if you don't hit that window and hit that channel. So just getting out to the lineup is a contest in itself.
Yeah, it is. And you especially don't want to make your way too far to the west end of the beach, where, like you said, where that big rocks are, but also the shore break there is crazy. There's a replay there of Andrea Moeller. Just a quick up and out. What's great, I think this is her 2nd or even 3rd wave, so she's staying active.
And I'm sure she's ecstatic to be a participant in this year's Eddie Big Wave Invitational in memory of Eddie Aikau.
Yeah, we were talking about the run of events from 1999 when Noah Johnson won. 2 years later, 2001, when Ross Clark Jones, and then the next year there in 2002 when Kelly won, and then 2004 Bruce Irons. So that was a real solid run of event, and so that's a little unusual, like you were saying, Kaipo, to have that many in a row. But we're excited that we're back here in 2023.
Yeah, and we do have a little piece on Bruce Irons. We're going to play that for you at some point in the broadcast today, and look back at the win for Bruce Irons. That was in 2004 when Bruce was able to take out this prestigious title. Another guy who's got that prestigious trophy on his mantles on your screen right there. There's a 2-time world champ, John Florence, our 2016 champion. But Bruce Irons really innovated the way to surf Waimea in competition. He took it all the way through the shore break. Let's learn more about Bruce Irons as Bruce Irons looks back at his win in 2004.
That was my first heat, and that was actually the last wave I could catch. And the waves were peaking right there, you know. And Kelly was in my heat, and I think Ross Williams, and these huge. You see the lines coming, and I was like, oh, here it comes, you know. And I remember everyone kind of started paddling out, and I kind of just held a little bit less than they did, you know. Like they all went like 10 or 15 feet out, and I didn't want to get stuck on the top of the wave, you know. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna stay right here, and that wave came, and it was a big wave, and Kelly was right out for me on the side, and I was already in my rage, and I was going to go no matter what. It was my last wave, so I was going to ride it as far as I could to the beach because that was it. And you know, that in between stage, it's just like this long sailing. Like you can hear the commentator, and I could hear the crowd, and he's like, "Oh, is he getting the shore break?" And in my mind, I wasn't thinking about that. Yeah, it ended up coming to the inside, and you know, just pulled in that closeout, and just got blown up the beach, and walked right to the shower. It was like as perfect as it could have got for me, you know.
One of the incredible moments from the years here at the Eddie Big Wave Invitational. Bruce Irons, Isaiah, taking it all the way to the shore break and a win.
Yeah, that's showmanship at its finest. And we were talking earlier about the competitors right now that are making their way through that lineup. They're trying to avoid that shore break, and normally that's what you want to do. But Bruce, younger brother of Andy Irons, in 2004 really took the spotlight by putting an exclamation point on his victory by pulling into a massive closeout shore break wave here at Waimea Bay.
Yeah, that was an incredible moment. And look at the lines that we got on our screen right now.
Oh, my goodness.
More sets stacking up and going to be hitting the peak here at Waimea. Competitors all in a pack, holding their positions. And I'm sure the Waimea surfers say that this is the toughest part to do, is just to hold the line. You want to scratch for the horizon, but if you do, you're not going to be in position to catch the wave. First wave, just the indicator on this set, and look at all the lines. We're going to see some decisions and some positioning right now.
It's amazing. And if you're not aware, when we say the set is coming, there's a set of waves. You can see those lines and two riders up.
Healy and blue, and that's Aaron Gold. Healy deep on this one. Second wave, but the set's even bigger.
Goodness.
Mark Healy's going to ride this one through. And Healy maybe thinking that this may be the end of his heat. We'll see if he takes it to the shore break. We saw that little flashback of Bruce Irons taking it to the shore break. Healy looking like he has the same intent, has to hop over a couple of these double ups, and that one's just going to roll to the shore. We'll see if he
really hard on equipment to where he rides boards. They're a little shorter than most, and you can see that the way that he's able to turn, and that last wave looked really exciting from emerging from that exploding whitewash.
Landon McNamara taking off on this one, the surfer, musician, and second generation Waimea rider here with Landon. And Landon, Isaiah, looking like he wants to make the connection.
Yeah, it looks like our riders are all going the distance. Usually you would want to kick out, but riding this through this frothy, foamy, bumpy inside section.
And we're nearing the end of this heat, so I have a feeling that Landon is just taking the best way to shore. That's riding a wave. And he's going to complete all the way through to the shore break, Landon McNamara.
Eddie Aikau was known, a lot of our surfers have their signature surfboard look, and Eddie Aikau was known for this red board. It was a Hobie surfboard that when he was a teenager and just got that job working at the Pineapple Cannery, saved up enough money to try and get this board. Apparently it was in the window of this surf shop, and it was a Dick Brewer board, and eventually he was able to save enough money to buy this board. And look at all the photos of him and memories of him. That red board really stands out for young Eddie, especially as he was a youngster surfing out here at Waimea Bay. Also wore the signature white shorts with the red stripe across it. So Eddie was very, had his look to him.
Yeah, it looks like Landon not taking that one all the way in and decides to get back out there. And Hawaiian Water Patrol giving Landon a quick ride to the channel, dropping into this one. Big wave out in front. Tao Shipman. So great execution for the first time Eddie invitee. As a paddle here, Kai Lenny, big drop. Lenny, way deep. Eli Olsen further on the shoulder, but it's going to be Kai Lenny who's going to hang in here. And Lenny just with that strong stance coming through, riding with Eli. Looks like both surfers are interested to come through the shore break. Kai with the bunny hop. Eli decides to stick with it. And let's see what Eli has on the shore break here. Isaiah, big section.
Oh my goodness.
Triple up, double up, washing machine. Waimea shore break, and Eli Olsen with a strong stance takes it all the way through. A little claim to former Eddie winner Bruce Irons with that shore break ride.
Oh, that was an amazing wave. 3 guys on that wave, but Kai Lenny was the deepest, had the best line, I think, behind everyone. But man, exciting to have this wave shared by 2 gentlemen. And all the way through the shore break, we have Eli Olsen.
And you can see, that's just the inside soup right there. That's just the beginning of the story at Waimea. There's so much more to it, but that in itself is a huge challenge.
Yeah, a lot of turbulence, a lot of energy. There's so much power in this ocean, especially here at Waimea Bay, this deep bay where the swell is coming from these storms way out to sea. And the way it goes from deep water to this bay in here just shows all that water and that energy just coming to the beach.
Flying through here, you can see the acreage of white water that it takes after a set in the jumbled up bay here at Waimea. Beautiful conditions, offshore conditions. Incoming swell that's still on the rise throughout the day, making for an epic day. You can see the seam right there, the giant boil out at Waimea. That's a part of the whole lineup here. And Jake Maki taking a look at that one and decides not to ride that bucking wave as it rolls through here at Waimea.
Yeah, the surfers have to be selective because some of these waves are unmakeable, and they want to make sure that they're pulling the trigger on the right ones, especially since they only have 4 waves that they're allowed in each of their heats.
It's a clear view down the North Shore coast, and our drone flying by the lineup as we see a scratch by Jake Maki. He wants in on this one. Jake's up. And a bumpy ride down the face, but the teenager from the North Shore hangs on to that one, cutting to this angle here of
Landon
McNamara.
Oh my goodness, that looked like a closeout set behind them. My goodness, this is reminiscent of 2016 when we had those sets that would come through and close out the entire bay.
Catching up with Jake Maki here, and look like Tao Shipman as well. We'll see if he's still attached to his board. May have lost his board. This set, Isaiah, as we take a look here, appears to close out the entire bay. We'll get a visual of that, and maybe the angle, so that it really gives us, you know, the
magnitude,
the consequence, and the magnitude of this, the front-on angle of that closeout.
If you're wondering what Jake Maki just did, he's trying to get under the wave, so he stood up on his board to get an extra bit of momentum to dive underneath it, because all this white water is coming over you. You want to try and get underneath it to avoid its turbulence as much as possible. Our Hawaiian Water Patrol staying busy here. That was a big wave that probably washed most of our competitors out, so they're checking the lineup to make sure everyone's safe.
Let's check out some replays here. And diving, that was Kiala Kenley behind Jake Maki who made this wave.
Wow, Kiala going for it.
From the water this time, and a paddle in, and Eli Olsen airdrops and cannot put the board underneath him, goes over the falls. Kai Lenny, however, is able to survive the explosion, the avalanche of whitewater. Goes complete on this ride on the replay.
Yeah, Kai had a couple of really good waves in this heat. Here we have Tayo Shipman.
And this was the wave so far of the heat. Kai Lenny deep, Eli Olsen.
Was, you know, very large, and see all that water chopping through here. Our black belt making his way, challenging the inside Waimea shore break.
Jake Maki on his tippy toes for that drop, Isaiah. And that was near closing out the bay. Landon McNamara more on the shoulder as we cut back to live action in this heat number 3, round number 1 of the Eddie Big Wave Invitational in memory of Eddie Aikau. Well, they say the bay calls a day, and I think we're hearing the calling very clear right now, Isaiah.
For sure. Yeah, the bay calling. There's Jake, excited to be able to make that wave and be out there at Waimea today.
Sitting County lifeguards checking in with Landon McNamara as he's making his way back and back on the beach. Having a word there. Landon looks like he's okay. Landon, just a great big wave surfer, great pipeline surfer, and actually one of my favorite local musicians as well.
Yeah.
Puts out great music.
16, so 7 years. Everybody's getting like that 7-year itch to get out to the bay, and you've seen the crowds, the lines of people. It is just a huge North Shore Super Sunday at Waimea Bay, and it's going to be awesome.
It is going to be awesome. Well, we got former champ out in the water right now as we look at our participants in heat number 2, round number 1, out there in the blue jersey. Our 2002 Eddie champ, 11-time world champ, Kelly Slater's in the water, Rocky.
Yeah, he's a former champ out here at the Eddie, and like you said, 11 times a world champion. I mean, I know you could probably ask him, all those world titles are amazing, but the one Eddie is, you know, almost like maybe equal to all of those when you put it up on the scale of prestige.
In this year's Eddie, every single one of these heats has at least one female surfer, one out there in the pink jersey, Emily Erickson in her Eddie debut, daughter of Roger Erickson. Emily out there riding her trusty Lyle Carlson single fin, Rocky.
Yeah, what an amazing combination as we watch a replay of our surfer in red.
So that's our first glimpse at an alternative getting into this event. That's Mikey O'Shaughnessy. Here's another replay here.
That's Ross Clark Jones, a former champion as well.
Yeah, 2001 champ, Ross Clark Jones. But so Mikey O'Shaughnessy in the red jersey, call him Mikey Red.
Yep.
He is in the competition. Unfortunately, Nathan Florence not able to participate this year. Nathan sustaining a fracture to his back from a big wipeout. And so he's reluctantly sitting this one out, but that's a big opportunity for the surfer, Mikey O'Shaughnessy, Mikey Red from Kalapana on Hawaii Island.
Yeah, we talked a little bit in the last event about that pocket of talent that comes from that zone is just so amazing, bro. Those Big Island boys, the Honolulu crew over there, that's just loads of amazing talented surfers coming in from the last heat right there.
Yeah, Andrea Moeller coming in, and looks like a former invitee and a big wave surfer out of Brazil, Carlos Burley, helping Andrea up with her equipment. Let's talk a little bit more about the participants in this heat. We talk about Emmy Erickson, Kelly Slater. Ian Walsh is out there in the purple jersey. Ian Walsh hailing from Maui, and a premier big wave rider, Ian, brought his mom over to Oahu so she can be on the
Oh,
beach
nice.
and witness this incredible event, Rocky.
Oh, what a great gift and what a great son. And, you know, Ian, not only the talent, the training, the stamina, but he's, you know, when it comes to reading swells and looking at maps, he is so involved and has probably earned an honorary, you know, meteorology degree in the process.
I called Ian yesterday, just with that being said, I called Ian yesterday to get the scoop. So that was a good call. Ian Walsh, 39 years old, a former Peahi winner, a former XL Pro winner. This is Ian surfing in his second Eddy.
We've also got Josh Moniz, that is part of that epic, very talented Moniz surfing Ohana, and representing the Monizes in this heat.
Yeah, we were talking about Josh Moniz, 26 years old, and this is Josh's first Eddy, but he can get inspiration from his dad, Tony. Tony Moniz, a 6th place finish in the Eddy in 2001. Josh out there on his trusty 9.8 Tokoro, shaped by Kerry Tokoro, so he's got some trusted equipment under his feet. In the white jersey out there, we have Cole Christensen, Rocky.
You know, one thing I really love about this event, other than the fact that is the pioneer and originator of the non-elimination format, go out there and surf and get your scores, and we'll give you multiple chances. And also, I love the way this event blends your top-level championship tour surfer, world champions and such, with guys like Cole Christensen, who focuses his energy right here on the North Shore, at the Bay, at Pipe, Himalayas, all the big spots, and is, you know, an excellent farmer. He is, you know, got all kinds of other, you know, hands-on skills, not just a traveling pro surfer, but a blue collar, if you will, kind of hardworking, nose down to the grindstone, but gets out there on these days and just blows minds with how hard he charges.
Yeah, Cole said it seems fitting that the Wahine are in this year's event, and their participation would put a smile on Eddie's face. He says, let's send it, but let us not forget what we are here for. The integrity, representing the integrity of a man that spent his entire life helping others and ending up giving his life to save his friends. He's talking about Eddie Aikau. That's the legacy. That's what we need to aspire to, a higher standard of human connection. And we get to do that by surfing together in Eddie's playground and connect with each other. Waimea and all of the spectators, this is truly a celebration of life. That's what Cole Christensen had to say about his participation in this event.
Well, that's very well said, and it is spot on when we talk about what we're celebrating, what we're memorializing, who we are talking about, and the way that he was, you know, known to live his life. And of course, being the first lifeguard here, Eddie, saving thousands of lives, and you know, went out doing that very thing for his good friends on board that Hokulea voyage.
Out there in the orange jersey is Makua Kai Rothman. Makua, 38 years old. He's a former big wave world champ, 2014. Makua's out there surfing through the pain. Didn't want to miss this one. Blew out his knee at the shootout. Has his all braced up. He knows he's going to need some surgery and some work on that, but he's not missing the day. Yeah,
you know, walking, the shot of him walking on the beach before his heat, I noticed that brace, you know, it's super hefty and for obvious reasons, but yeah, that heat at the shootout, I mean, it was a really treacherous day for even that particular heat, where Billy Kemper the day before, Makua Kai Rothman, and Kala Grace all surfing for the same team, and you know, just had seemed like a barrage of injuries at the time. And I saw Makua on crutches, and he was going to get his MRI and you know, all the tests done that evening that he injured it, and it didn't look good, you know, as far as, you know, from my visual assessment when he showed me and was kind of moving it around or touching it, and it's like, oh man, you know, hoping the best for you. And sure enough, it's going to need a lot more medical attention, but he is powering through. And not going to miss this opportunity. And I was kind of wondering, you know, after I saw that injury, like, ooh, and if it does happen, what, you know, he's going to have a decision to make.
Yeah, I talked to Makura, and he said, you know, I'm going to go paddle out. He may have a leash attached to his vest, his body, rather than to his leg.
Correct.
So that it's not going to pull on that bad knee. I think that was his strategy. His other strategy, he told me, was, hey, I'm not going to wear a leash at all, because if I fall, I'm not going to win. But it looks like he's got a leash on. It looks like he's got it all rigged up. Makua Kai Rothman. Let's round out this heat.
I thought he was going to go, you know, Tommy Chung Ming style.
You could put
on the front foot.
You could put it on your front foot as well. Matt Keckley, another guy who would do that. Buzzy Kerbox, another front foot leash guy. A little bit unorthodox, but we got a ton of surfers in history who have gone for that. John Roseman, another one.
To each their own.
Well, rounding out the lineup in the black jersey, we have the eldest surfer in this year's Eddie.
Most experienced.
And the most experienced 2001 champ Ross Clark Jones is out there in the black jersey. And as we look at history, Ross Clark Jones, Rocky, was the first surfer not from Hawaii to win an Eddie.
That is a pretty cool stat you pull up there. And I had the pleasure of watching that victory driving one of those jet skis for our main producer and director here, Mike Prickett, back in those days of Salt and Air Studios. And he's like, oh, this camera equipment's only worth about $40,000. We just can't get it wet. I'm like, what? And he's like, can you get close so we can get a good shot? All the sprays coming over. He's like hugging the camera, trying to keep it dry. I'm like, wow, thanks, Mike.
There he is, Ross Clark Jones. Like I said, the 2001 champ. Had, you know, and in that final, Shane Dorian was the runner-up in 2001, nearly took out the win. Third place in 2001 was a guy I got to know. He saved me a bunch of times. Ant-Man. Ant-Man Paul Patterson. I was in the back of the ski this year at Margaret River, holding on for dear life. But Ant-Man, like yourself, Rocky, a expert in jet ski operation and in water safety.
Yeah, especially in the waves. You know, there's such a calculated technique and knowing what the machine can and can't do and where you can get for those epic shots. And obviously for safety reasons, want to commend and mahalo Hawaiian Water Patrol and all of our brothers out there looking after these competitors and photographers. But yeah, Paul Patterson that year, oh my gosh, I thought he was going to win. He had some waves that, I mean, it must have been so close between first, second, and third, because those guys were all going off.
I'm going to dig up some more stuff, but I think Paul Patterson was in the top 6 a couple of times during the Eddie, but just quite a charger.
Yeah.
Him and his brother Jake out of Western Australia. Here we got a wave.
Oh man.
And destruction on the bottom. So that looked like the blue board, maybe a purple jersey, could have been Ian Walsh. Bear with us on the IDing of the surfers. We don't have a spotter here in our studio, so Rocky and I are just using pretty much our innate knowledge of stances.
Recognition of the styles, the stance. Yeah, you look regular versus goofy. And then the purple and the black might, in this morning light, sometimes resemble each other.
Yeah.
So that'll be a little bit of a tricky ID right off the bat. But whoever that was charging on that drop, and that thing just exploded, and he was gone.
I'm going to go with Ian Walsh on that one, just because I'm going to default to the board color.
Got it.
Another look at Ian.
Yeah, I mean, it's super late. You see the board chattering, almost losing some traction on the drop. And then once he gets to the trough, it is game over. That lip was just chasing him right down on his tail. And, you know, not even the great Ian Walsh could hold on to that. So you know that wave had some explosion.
Yeah. Ian, just such a great spokesman for the big wave community. As we see walking down the beach, Frances Justine DuPont is readying herself for the paddle out. And Justine has just been setting the big wave world on fire with her performances at places like Jaws, Nazare, and most recently that mysterious Cortez Bank out in the Pacific.
Yeah, that crazy middle of the ocean, whatever it is, man, it's just a huge chunk of reef.
Hey, looks like we got Kelly Slater on his first wave, Rocky.
That was blue. And looked like he did a little fun heel side dismount just to test the waters a little bit.
Yeah, Kelly Slater, 50 years old.
Jeez, I cannot believe that.
And it's just in another eddy. And Kelly's actually, come the end of the month, well, as we start the World Surf League Championship Tour over at Pipeline, that's going to be the Billabong Pro Pipeline. Kelly is our defending champ as we start off the year there for WSL.
Yeah, and he's got a birthday coming up.
Yeah.
So he's going to be 51 during all of this excitement. Wow. Yeah, what a story. What a, you know, coming from Cocoa Beach, Florida. You know, I don't know if you guys have ever surfed over there. I've been over there quite a bit with some ties to that state. And there are hardly ever waves that are over maybe head high. You got to get really lucky and a really good string of hurricane storms and whatnot to be able to have consistent surf. But a guy from Cocoa Beach coming out, owning Pipeline for as many years as he has, winning an Eddie Aikau. You know, 11 world titles is also very impressive for anybody from anywhere. But here we go. Check out the replay of Kelly as... oh, excuse me.
Wait a minute. So, again,
that was a surfer in blue, though.
We have the surfer in blue. We're watching the surfer in blue. And now we're looking at that surfer in blue and thinking that is not Kelly Slater. So I need some information from the beach.
It looked a little different than Kelly's, you know, style and whatnot. And on a first quick glance like we got, we weren't quite sure. But on the replay, we got a chance to study it a little bit. And we'll have to say that was a mountain lion, not a cheetah, on second look. So each of these heats are 45 minutes in this first round. And on the outside, check out Red. Super late drop. That was Mikey Red in the red. How appropriate. And now just a little lean back and roll up the window, small kind. But what a deep late drop from Mikey Red, putting himself in position for a good score. That's what the judges want to see, are those huge late drops. The deeper you are, the better for this Waimea big wave scoring system. And Mikey was fitting those 2 points of the criteria very well. Made it to the bottom, had a little bit of shakiness getting through that trough, but was able to ride it out. Here we go, look at that, just huge drop. That was Black in the front. That was Ross Clark Jones on the shoulder, just a little too kind of caught up in the lip. But Mikey Red, nice big drop, good deep takeoff, made it to the bottom. You know, kind of stumbled at the end there, but my opinion, that was really well done. And Mikey should get maybe possibly look like one of the steeper and deeper drops on a bigger wave of the morning. So Mikey Red turning in a good one. And there goes Mr. Kaileni heading out for heat number 3. Kaileni from Maui. You see our surfers kind of gathered up closely right there in a tight takeoff zone. And on a normal day, a non-competition day, a non-eddy day at Waimea, right there, your entire screen would be filled with surfers trying to attempt their dream wave at Waimea Bay. And there's all of our crowd trying to sit on every dry piece of aina, piece of rock that they can find. Sometimes getting a little too close. Looks like everybody so far behaving themselves, but that is the scene here on the North Shore every time the Eddie Aikau is running. The crowds are teeming with excitement and anticipation. The energy you can feel from the crowd on the beach when these huge waves roll in and a surfer is riding, it is quite infectious, and there's pretty much nothing like it. I mean, the waves are huge. It's great. You can, but the accessibility for people to come down here and watch in person is just an amazing scene of a crowd down there.
Yeah, just stay behind the yellow tape, please. That's by our seating county line. Okay, Rocky, I had to get on the hotline and get an explanation.
Yeah,
of what's
thank you
going
for
on
doing
in the
that. I
water.
appreciate that.
So that was not Kelly Slater out there in the blue jersey.
Okay.
That is our alternate. Kahea Hart is out
great.
there.
Cool.
So, Beach Marshal and all you guys out there, keep the information rolling to us here on the set so we can keep on bringing people accurate information. So Kahea Hart out there in the blue jersey. He's a replacement for Kelly Slater. And Mikey O'Shaughnessy in the red jersey, a replacement for Nathan Florence.
And Mikey just got a really good wave. Steep, deep takeoff, right where you want to be for those good scores. Ross Clark-Jones was out ahead a little further down the line, actually got caught in the lip and had to bail out. Mikey made it all the way, and it was a pretty well-ridden wave from Mikey. A big one and nice and steep as well. Gotta say, mahalo to the brothers, Barakai and Chisan. They was hooking me up with some boards and some waves. I was cruising around our state earlier this weekend, so mahalo. Got to catch some waves, but it was so good fun where I was surfing. And this looks fun to be on the beach watching. Maybe fun to be on a ski cruising on the side, but on a board catching these waves, you gotta be so prepared, so trained, as we see our surfer in blue for the next heat. That is Keala Kennelly, big wave charger from Kauai. She's been doing it a very long time in the sense of being so young when she started.
Yeah, KK, 44 years old, a vet here, a former championship tour surfer. She's had big wins at the end of the road at Taupo in Tahiti. She's one of the premier big wave surfers. When we look at the women's big wave community, you can see her there. And she has that rig up with the vest where rather than being tethered to her board, a leash to ankle, has her leash to that harness there.
Well, and we were just talking about that possible technique for Makua in the current heat. So I wonder if he had kind of poked Keala for any information or possible rigs that she might have, but looks like Makua was opting for the ankle leash. But still, it's interesting to see all the different creativity these surfers have thought of, from safety to performance and all the way through.
Big news, by the way, the alternate Kahea Hart getting in here. It's also Kahea's birthday today. So thank you, Todd Klein, formerly from Quicksilver, for that update. So happy birthday. Haoli Laha now, Kahea Hart. What a birthday present, Rocky. He gets to surf the Eddy.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of anything better other than, having a nice bow to go on top. But Kahea already got a wave under his belt, so he's got the juices flowing, and it looks like possibly some activity approaching the lineup for these 8 surfers. And one thing that we'll see in these heats is that there will be no empty spots. Every spot will be filled. If there's no surfer that's an invitee present, an alternate will step in.
Oh, Kahea,
There he
happy
is.
birthday, and making the most of his invite here. Big drop and gets through the main section right there before the whitewater catches his heels and kicks him off, Rocky, but that was impressive.
Yeah, we saw a surfer behind also. We'll get a glimpse of the replay, but look at this live action on the outside. Somebody just was right in the lip. Not a fun place to be. But yeah, happy birthday, Kahea. Wow, you must be, 22, 23? Yeah. But the conditioning of these guys and gals is so incredible. And then you just see them get flicked off the board like a flea. You're like, wow, I've seen that guy like in person. He is like, stout and steady. And he just got pummeled like he was nothing. It is just a testament to the power of this ocean.
And what are you seeing out there? Well, we get this replay. Take a look.
Yeah, so it looks like Mikey Red was behind, has to bail off, and Kahea holds on behind the boil. You saw it going up the wave, and then gets into his hunkered down uncle stance right there. And then, like I said, he's so in shape and in condition, but even a guy like Kahea, who is in top-notch physical form, just gets plucked off like a low-hanging mango.
And you know what was impressive is that we have the two alternates coming in hot right now with Mikey Red and Kahea Hart. They just got basically audible right on the beach.
Yeah.
Came, was ready, didn't know if they're getting in or not. All of a sudden, if you're not checked in 15 minutes before your heat with our beach marshal, they go to the alternate list. Well, I'm here. We're going to go step out for a little bit. We're going to a commercial right now to thank some of the supporters. We'll be right back with more from the Bay. This is the Eddie Big Wave Invitational in memory of Eddie Aikau.
Dear Mainland, aloha. My brother and I hear lots of you have discovered a real Hawaiian favorite, Big Wave Golden Ale. That's the good kind stuff, yeah, bro. Maybe it's the island flavor that makes each sip taste like a little vacation.
Got your beers here.
That's a whole lot of little vacations right there, huh, brother?
Coming through.
That's like a big vacation. Retirement. One life, right? Mahalo. Big Wave Golden Ale from Kona Brewing.
Got a large, long period swell heading towards the Hawaiian Islands this weekend, with 40 to 60-foot faces and exposed spots.
We in Hawaii respect the land. We hold a deep reverence for its beauty, its power, and the humble gratitude for all it has given us. In operation since 1993, Puna Geothermal Venture embraces this tradition, providing clean, sustainable, renewable energy to the people of Hawaii Island, to power our homes, to keep our businesses thriving, to keep our communities moving forward. Puna Geothermal Venture, powered by nature.
Today's television broadcast is powered by Hawaiian Telcom. Experience the speed of Hawaii's only 100% fiber internet with Fi Optics for your home or business.
The Eddie Aikau Big Wave Invitational is brought to you by Hawaiian Airlines, proud to be Hawaii's longest-serving airline, offering over 120 flights a day between the islands.
The KHON2 News at 7 p.m. on K-High with Bridget Namata and Gina Mangieri. Hawaii's only 7 o'clock news.
Welcome back to live coverage of the Eddie Big Wave Invitational in memory of Eddie Aikau. It is an incredible Hawaiian Sunday here at Waimea Bay. The bay's pumping. It's Kaipo along with Rocky Cannon. We're in heat number 2, and we've already seen some pretty spectacular rides, Rocky.
Hau'oli la pule. Happy Sunday, bro. It is bombing. Look at Hawaiian Water Patrol having to escape the avalanche of whitewater. We see this sometimes during big sets when these whitewaters are just too heavy and too huge to try to go over or through, especially with the jet ski relying on capturing water from the impeller underneath. All those bubbles create a lot of air pockets, and it is tough sledding, literally. And they're gonna just go ahead and bring it to shore, at least for one of them, and possibly some camera equipment change. Lifeguards from the city and county also helping out. It is a full team effort getting these beasts of machines spun around on the sand. Of course, the innovation and introduction to jet skis and water safety brought to you by 4 Hawaiians on this island of Oahu with Uncle Terry, Uncle Brian, Uncle Mel, Uncle Dennis writing the book literally. And now it is part of your everyday rescue routines on all bodies of water through all factions of and departments, from Coast Guard, Department of Defense, Navy, all the way down to your local municipalities. Mahalo Hawaiian Water Patrol for a great innovation and use of jet skis.
Yeah, there they are. They're going to time getting that ski back out into the lineup. And looks like on the back we got Larry Haynes, I want to say. So hopefully we'll be getting some visions from the lineup with Larry Haynes. He's a durable character. He's a great cameraman. And, you know, if we get him...
He's got somewhat of a personality.
If we get him tossed out there, he floats really, really good. He floats really well.
Yeah,
there he goes.
Well, not afraid to put himself, in precarious positions for those epic water shots. So mahalo, Larry, mahalo Hawaiian Water Patrol. They're heading back out for more action. And look at that beach. It is packed. You can see the smooth sand. And we always say to our visitors, hey, don't set up your towel and stuff on the smooth sand.
And speaking of watermen and getting Eddie out there in the water, all of this is being documented and we actually have a piece on 2016 with one of our great water photographers out there in the lineup. Had to swim all day long, as we could see the drop off there. And it was a great story. We're going to get to that story. We're going to go to some replays to catch you up on the action, but our unsung heroes in the way of our water photographers. Take a look at this, Rock.
Yeah, looks like Ross Clark Jones, your former champ, possibly in that black jersey. And on a bomb, it's a big closeout. That was a huge wave, and it's stayed huge all the way into the channel. And look at this footage, the drone tracking Ross Clark Jones as he tracks across this wave, across a couple of jet ski tracks. Enough tracking there for you.
So that is why we saw those skis return to shore, probably a closeout already at Waimea and ridden by Ross Clark Jones. So Rocky, I'm going to say in that regard, RCJ has got the biggest score so far of the day.
Definitely the biggest wave, and rode it very well, getting it all the way to the bottom. You got to make the drop at least, get over to that corner section as we see Eli Olsen getting ready. Oh, he is frothing, and he's been coming on strong in the last several years, really kind of finding his path in pro surfing.
Yeah. So we're talking about the water angle and how it is our unsung heroes. Let's hear from one of the best in the water and his story from 2016. Zach Noyle was out there swimming all day.
The plan was to be on a jet ski most of the day, all the day. We wanted to be out there and not miss a single moment. And when I got out in the water, the waves were so big, when they would close out, the jet skis had to go to shoreline. So when I saw this, I went, you know what? I'm gonna swim this. And so I jumped off the jet ski and ended up swimming for the entire day. And I'd be left out there a few times when the jet skis had to go and avoiding the waves, and I had to dive under the waves. And I've never felt power like that before in any wave around the world.
There we go. The story from Zach Noyle and the vision of Hawaiian Water Patrol and how they had to beach the skis, which they had to do just again here. So, hey, the drill works. The sacrifice is evident, and what great storytelling looking back to 2016, the last time this event ran.
Yeah, that was just such a chilling image of all those jet skis, basically, and guys upon them that are highly experienced watermen and the best in the world, and they're hightailing it out of there. Shows you who's boss.
Yeah, well, Waimea is always the boss, and just all of these warriors. Really, a great gathering, right, of the best big wave riders in the world whenever the Eddie runs.
Yeah, and it's always been that. And you've seen the event grow in participation over the years. And, of course, it's so awesome and incredible to have our Wahine involved in every heat as well. And I had Eddie posters on my wall as a kid from, single-digit age kind. And that list was just like, I went to bed kind of looking at like all those names and all the talent that was on the board. But like I said earlier, the mix of the spectrum of professional surfing, from the top World Championship Tour champions all the way to the guys that just are from here that love to charge. And then you have the guys and girls that fly in from other areas. That has to be the most ultimate sign of respect for your skill and your talent and your hard work, is being a foreigner invited to the Eddie.
Yeah, and that's why there's no other event like the Eddie, and that's why it's so prestigious, both as a competition but actually as a gathering of surf culture. Started in 1984. Sunset was the first venue before it moved to Waimea. 1984, Denton Miyamura won the first Eddie. Denton, a great
That'd be
surfer.
so fun for like a surfing stat night at like your favorite watering hole. When you do like game night.
People are not going to get the
that would be
Denton,
a tough one.
Denton Miyamura. Yeah, he was a great surfer. Ripped Haleiwa, part of that
Such an
Haleiwa,
incredible surfer.
Haleiwa Surf Center crew. Haleiwa Surf Center, Kalani and Marvin Foster in that era. Denton Miyamura, Kerry Terrakina. And then there were a couple of like young kids coming up at the same time, Clark and Brock Little in that whole Haleiwa Surf Center crew when we look at history. Then, Rocky, we look back, 1986, Eddie's younger brother, Clyde Aikau, won the first Eddie when we moved it here to Waimea Bay.
And how fitting, what a story. And Clyde charging, up until till he's told like, okay, bro, you might not want to be, but.
I want to say he surfed in 2016, the last time we ran this.
Yep.
I want to say Uncle Clyde was 66 years old at the time. Caught some bombs out there.
Absolutely.
And now we want to mahalo Clyde Aikau for actually being our contest director and the visionary to make this, to continue with this wonderful tradition honoring his older brother.
Yeah, and being that he won the first one at Waimea in '86 is just an incredible story and incredible talent in his own right, and always, wanting to memorialize and tell Eddie's story and tell it the right way.
Flying above here as the water tries to settle at Waimea Bay. Thank you for joining us. It is 9:25 local time here on Oahu. Wherever you're watching us, our coverage is going to continue through the end of the day till 4:30 p.m. when we're going to crown a champ for the 10th running of the Eddie. And Rocky, already seeing closeout sets at the Bay. Wow.
Yeah, Ross Clark Jones caught one of those, and I can't help but notice that just ominous mist in the mountains and in the valley right there, still blanketing from the morning dew and morning fog, and then mixed with this incredible amount of salt air that's being pumped in from these huge waves. Everybody getting their saline treatment right there on the beach for free. Just take a deep breath in, hold them in, and let them all out.
Yeah, and another note. Big crowds come out here for the event, but we always want to ma'alama Waimea and take care of the shoreline. So pick 3 for the sea. Grab 3 pieces of rubbish or more. Make sure everyone's be picking up all of their opala as we, that's another part of our gathering. Because as surfers, we are the guardian and we're first impact, for any kind of pollution that's happening to our beaches and to our oceans. There's a great cause too if you want to join in. weareoneocean.org, and you can find out how you can get involved locally and find out what we're doing over at We Are One Ocean to help protect our environment, especially our beaches and ocean.
Well, another group, local group, Malama Pupukea Waimea, sending some messages, and
Jenny and the crew there, we got them up.
Want everybody to know that Waimea Bay is part of the conservation area of the, that stretches around out to Sharks Cove and out to Keiki Point out there. So please take care, and you can check out Malama Pupukea Waimea.
And that actually goes full circle because with our cause at We Are One Ocean, they were Malama Waimea Pupukea was a grantee, and so last year at this time we did some replanting of native plants along the shoreline to try to to help with the erosion, and that's just one of the many things that they do. So great job for that nonprofit there, taking care of the valley and the beach at Waimea. And look at the valley and the beach right now is at standing room only, Rock.
It is standing room only. Couple rows, in front of yellow tape. You guys better behave yourself down there, but just keep an eye out for that shoreline. Could be rising throughout the day. The swell still coming in pretty hefty. Like Kaipo said, we've seen some closeouts already. We've seen one rider, Ross Clark Jones, be able to snag one of those big closeouts and be in the right spot. But if you are heading down to the beach, just turn around, go back home and watch them on the studio, on the TV.
Yeah, that's right. Go ahead and watch it on
Too late, man.
K-High
9:30.
if you're local. And this evening, we're also going to have a rebroadcast of the final 2 hours of the Eddy on KHON2. So here we go, another set and another wave being ridden. Looks like yellow coming through there. Josh Moniz getting his feet wet at the bay.
Yeah, young Josh overcame a gnarly injury, hitting his head on the bottom and I believe breaking his neck.
Yeah, broke his neck. It's super cool.
Makua Rockman, the knee holds steady. What a steep, deep, and underneath drop.
Well, you want to classify that as warrior. Makua Rothman out there with a badly injured knee, braced it up, and he just hucked himself over the ledge at Waimea.
Bruh, I think his knee brace is like bullet and bomb proof. He could probably, you know, get that thing through a minefield, no problem. It was really wrapped up.
Whoa, and the trip over the falls. Skipping down. That looked like it was Ross Clark Jones charging. There he is, though. He's back up on his board already.
Wow, he must have found some little wormhole under there to like poke out, and you know, the waves do that sometimes. There's these little like, you know, fast transport, like almost like beam me up Scotty. And he found one of those under the water because he came up quick, but he was body surfing.
Yeah, and that
was crazy.
That's the one thing that, you know, the big wave riders will tell you. A lot of times you don't penetrate, you kind of skip on the surface, and that's the worst. You know, Brock Little talked about it on his infamous wipeout on when he caught his closeout here at the Eddy.
Yeah, he was totally skipping down the face on that one. It was like, you know, skipping rocks down on the river, and he's not a big guy either, kind of skinny guy, and he just was not penetrating at all. I think he took about 4 skips before he got under that one.
We got a piece on that. We're going to play a little bit later in the broadcast, an interview with Brock Little recounting that way, but let's take a look at this, Rock.
Yeah, that was
it's Ian Walsh.
Ian Walsh with the blue board, and this was the beginning of the heat, so we must be all powered. Heat number 2.
Yeah, our heat recap.
That's Kahea Hart, who got in for Kelly Slater, making the most of his alternate experience.
Oh, no.
And Mikey Red with Ross Clark Jones in the front. This was a good one for Mikey. Big, steep, and deep right in the pit. And another look at Mikey going over. And then Kahea, the benefactor of a nice ride behind that boil, and able to complete this one until the end right there.
And then it was Ross Clark Jones, biggest wave of the day so far, Rocky.
Yeah, on a bomb. Traversing across a couple of jet ski trails, and then gets to the closeout section, finally gets flicked off like a flea.
Josh Moniz got one as well. We're moving on, stepping away, quick break. We'll be back with more action from the Eddy. Welcome back to Waimea Bay, the Eddy Big Wave Invitational. In memory of Eddy Aikau, the bay has called the day. The swell is continuing to rise through the day. We're at Heat 3 of the opening round here. And it's been an exciting morning so far, but we're just capping off the action right now. And we got a full day of surf competition and another 8 surfers out in the water. I'm Kaipo, along with Dr. Isaiah Walker. And Isaiah, the swell has continued to increase, and we've already seen some big waves ridden, but we're only 2 heats into today's competition.
No, it's incredible, and it was the right call because last week they teetered on the idea of pulling the trigger, but I think it was a great idea to wait because the surf is pumping today.
Well, we have a whole new 8 surfers out in the lineup, and within those 8 surfers, we have 2 ladies out there, 2 women competing in this Eddy. So let's start off with Justine DuPont, and we'll see first who catches this first opening wave on the backhand, dropping into this one. And let's get an ID on that one. It looks like red, and that would be Portugal's Nick van Rupp.
Yeah, Nick van Rupp coming from Portugal and is known for surfing massive waves over there on the Atlantic coastline. And awesome to see him here in the Pacific at Waimea Bay.
Yeah. Also on the lineup in the pink jersey is Justine Dupont. Justine Dupont, 31 years old, representing France, and one of our female competitors out there. She has been an incredible force within big wave surfing, as we see Nick on the paddle back out there in the red jersey.
Kaipo, did you see that recent wave of her at Cortez Bank?
Yeah.
That was one of the biggest waves ridden in this winter, and possibly even, you know, I'm not sure how they're doing the measurements of that, but that wave was massive.
Yeah, Justine Dupont with a recent strike mission with Garrett McNamara and crew, that 100-foot wave crew out to the Cortez Bank, a wave that breaks so far out at sea that there's no evident landmarks at all. It's a miracle of the big wave world. Out there in the blue jersey, another female competitor in the way of Kiala Kenley, but we'll get to first to this wave replay for orange. That's Landon McNamara.
Wow, amazing wave for Landon. That was a big one. And there was a part of the rodeo ride where it looked like it was uncertain if he was going to make it or not, but rides around that. Beautiful drop. You can see how he's behind the section. The wave is barreling behind him. Has to widen his stance to ensure that he can make it through that heavy part, and does so successfully.
Styly there.